Okay, I think this is starting. Oh, it looks good. Okay. Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining me for another game development stream. Today, I'm going to be working on a few things of a in different areas of development, mostly in Unreal. But first, I need to set up the restream on Watch Me Work. Okay. Okay, that's working now. And here we go. So, guys, as I mentioned, um, working on a few different areas of development, a few things I do want to share with you guys that I worked on before the stream. Um, is the ability to sort of define whether or not combat is enabled or not. Let's grab my controller here. So what I mean by that is each level has what you would call, well, what's defined as a level blueprint, which handles, well, let me just pull it over here, specified instructions pertaining to that level. As sort of a base for Project Grand Vault, we're casting to the game mode and creating a variable from that. And from here, I have created a function on the game mode to toggle a Boolean. Nothing too fancy, just whether or not combat is active or inactive. And you can see here in this room, this level, Dev Room A, we have combat active off, and when we play, you can see the print string. It says combat enabled false. I try and punch, light attack, heavy attack, not getting anything, right? Um, which is convenient, a convenient way to sort of turn off and on player functions, right? Like there are certain environments where we don't want the player to be able to, use their combat abilities. You can imagine if you played a game like Monster Hunter in the village, you wouldn't want to be able to swing your sword around. Do you know what I mean? Um, so it's just sort of for that use case. Um, and just to demonstrate, if we toggle it on, when we get in here, we can get our punching and stuff. But for now, I'm just keeping this off. Another sort of keeping with that combat mode in mind. Um, Actually, let's go in here. So normally, yeah, when you have combat mode enabled, I'm using a PlayStation 4 controller right now, but using my left shoulder button, I enter into the skill stance, right, which is for Vance, this character, a blocking sort of pose, where he's able to sort of, block, reduce his incoming damage, that sort of thing. Um, when in an environment, when the player's in an environment that where combat is disabled, this becomes sort of like a walking mode, right? Where we can get a bit more slower movement, over the shoulder camera, and sort of walking around. I should probably turn those dings off. There we go. And lastly, we were having an issue with, conversations. Oh, actually, that makes it sound really bad. We upgrade our conversation system to sort of, um, you can converse with characters. When you do so, the controls are locked, that sort of thing. But what's sort of imperfect is if if we're walking towards the camera, let's say, and let's say the camera's like crazy weird, like this. This is the view that we're getting for our interaction, which that's not what you want, right? So you can see here, I was actually thinking of creating a dialogue camera that we could interpolate to talk to this character. But again, we're not, how can I say this? Like for our game, we don't have the resources to make facial animation or anything like that, which is why we have these conversation avatars, right? The illustrations. But if that's the case, why are we zooming in so far? So basically, I just sort of thought, why don't we appropriate the reset camera ability that I made on an earlier stream? And it actually works quite well. So inside of the blueprint here for the officer, we don't need to do anything here. We need to go to the parent. So if we grab his parent class, he has where are we here? Right here. So from our main character reference, we have a camera reset, and this is called pretty much around the time where we have him rotate and face the player. So if we compile here, and we can actually delete the spring arm, because we don't really make this a bit taller so we can see here. We don't really need that camera and spring arm anymore, since we're just going to reset our character's camera. But like I mentioned, it works. It's effective enough. I mean, we have our camera reset based on whatever orientation, if we had a camera view behind the character, everything spins around to focus where we want the camera's attention, which is pretty sweet. Okay, so now that we got that out of the way, just a little bit of the sharing that I was doing before the sharing of the work I did before the stream. I'll get back onto track regarding what the stream is actually about. I want to adjust let's see, my notes here. Basically creating the time of day assets. I just need to verify something for the street lights and in the shopping alley as well. Well, I guess as a refresher for anyone who's just tuning in, we have this dynamic sky, right, where we can change the time of day. Those clouds looked a little weird at nighttime. Wonder why that is. I mean, we did switch to 4.16, so maybe there are some changes. So I'll definitely have to look into those weird clouds. But in any case, we have a system where we have different times of the day. And as you can imagine, depending on the time of day, certain assets should be in different states. Things like streetlights come to mind. So let's see here. If I go to my actors folder, Havenlock City, we have our streetlight actor here. I'll actually slide this out. And we have a few children of this class. One is a streetlight arch and a street lamp, like a sconce sort of deal, right? So when we get to nighttime, these all turn on, they produce light, they illuminate the area a little bit. they work, which is quite cool. One thing I did want to verify is this was previously done, the communication between the time of day of the sky to these actors was done with a blueprint interface. I just need to quickly verify if it's being done with an event dispatch. Yes, it is. Okay. So, and because I nudged this, it wants to get checked out. Oh, Unreal. I guess it allows me to drink some coffee, which isn't too bad. Let me just go to my notes here and sort of flag that as correct. Okay, so next up, we have, I'll right click and save this. The specific asset I have in mind are these shopping alley assets. They usually look like, okay, for instance, this one here. So this is just a simple storefront for a shop called the Recall Cafe. The texture is not correct at all. If I go inside of here in the viewport, the defaults, we can see that so we have our material elements, and let me go to the static mesh and find out which elements are. So element 0 on the static mesh. Okay, so element 0. Well, it should be. That's a little bizarre. Oh, I see. Let's just disconnect these two pins. I'll have to check this out, but that is not a big deal. It's funny how when you build things and come back to them, you forget how they were built. Okay, anyways, so we got the storefront here, and right now there's a Boolean, right? A Boolean interaction for shop is closed. I've exposed it, so I get on my details panel here. So this is cool, right? The shop is closed. If I try and play, well, that's a bad example because I'm inside of it. If I try and play, yeah, obviously, you turn on some collision and you can't come in here. But that's weird why it doesn't have collision though. Because we have a shutter and it's a separate mesh. If I find that mesh and turn on collision, yeah, there's none. So if I had simplified box, say, I have to check those out though. But now, yeah, the store is closed. You can't get in there, right? Kind of like what you'd see in a shopping mall, right? Where you have these individual units, and they get shut from the top with this almost like a garage door, I guess you could say. Kind of like that kind of structure. But what I would like is for this to be handled the same way, so it's sort of automatic. So if we just close out some of these tabs here, interaction parent is the interaction test 01. Let's see here, and if I look at my storefronts in terms of the actors for them, yeah, several of these already exist. So we may have to replicate the functionality onto each one from this the actor streetlight parent. So I'm gonna grab this guy and bring it off to my other monitor just so I can have reference to it, and I'll keep what I'm working on and creating in view. Okay, so here is a sort of a temporary setup I was using for interacting with these assets. We're going to delete them. Not quite necessary. You know what? As reference, though, also I'll pull up my junk shop actor, because this is still a store, the cafe, so you want reference to that code structure as well. But I think all we'll need is the onBeginPlay for now. Okay, let's see here. I can probably delete these two, and get rid of all this stuff. S dialog scripts, sure. Let's sort of start fresh. So, on event begin play, even this is outdated. Okay, so on event begin play, we are going to basically cast two, or probably not cast two, but we can get project vault underscore game mode. Does the interact parent create that? Let's see. Getting a little messy here with our child-parent relationships, but let me save and close these tabs you don't need. Hopefully it'll make things a little less confusing. Right. We don't need a development room open either. Okay, so from here, we have our, our cafe, right? This is the actor that's in the world. And we have our parent, parent class interact st1. Here it is, open as well. So we have on begin play a reference being made to, let's check those files out. Keep Unreal happy. Yep, that's fine. We're working with both of these. Okay. Main character reference. So on initialize, let's create another reference. Let's cast to Project Grand Vault game mode. All of these actors are going to need this, so it makes sense to have that reference on the parent. Cast to game mode. Oh, sorry, not cast to. I'll say get game mode. So that this will not fail. I mean, these won't fail based on the way my project's set up, so they could be converted to pure casts. That's fine too. But from here, what we want to get no matter what, whichever way you want to set up your casts, you want to promote this to a variable so that our children classes can access this. And I'll name it Project Grand Vault underscore game mode underscore a reference. And 5 files for checkout. These are probably, it could be any number of shopping alley assets. Okay, so let's compile. That way we know that the data will be updated on our cafe. And I guess we should probably save. So over in the child actor, we want to get game mode. Oh, sorry, not from execution pin. We want to get the variable. Here it is, get Project Red Vault game mode reference. This is what we just built. And from here, I actually want to A bind event to day phase change. So what's going on here is on our game mode, I've created a event dispatcher. I mean, any actor can create one. The game mode is no different. And from that event dispatcher, we're basically binding a custom event to it. One that we will call here day phase change. Oh, whoops! What? Silly me. I want to bind it to a custom event, and that custom event we call day phase change. Sort of try to keep it sort of neatish. And basically from just noticing something on my game mode, and I want to go and check that out real quick. So let's hop over into the. Let's do that later. Go into our game mode here, and we have a few functions. One that I want to check is our day phase cycle. Day phase light actor, find references. There should be none. Perfect. Okay. Just something I'm clearing up on the light actor, on the way that things were previously being handled, cleaning up the blueprints a little bit as I go. If we go to play and get to evening, oh yeah, lights are still working fine. That's cool. So if I hop back to, where are we here? Okay, so to our cafe or shop front here, what I want to check for is basically the we want to get the day phase that's in the game mode, because the game mode is sort of tracking that for us. So we're getting our day phase, and we basically just want to see if it's equal to nighttime, right? And from here we can create a branch and make that our condition. And we're actually going to do the same here. This basically, so anytime you load into the level, we're going to check on the game mode, is this nighttime, and then change everything as appropriately. But we also need to make sure it works if the day transitions and you're inside of that level, right? So, I mean, these things are in phases, they're not in real time, but we need to make sure that if there's a custom event, a side quest that gets completed in that environment, or any environment for that matter, that cause the day to change, the phase, excuse me, that this should also work. So that's what this event dispatcher is really for. Okay. So from here, what we want to do, I believe, is just verify, or I think all we have to do, we might not even need a Boolean. We might just be able to, if it's equal to night, set this to true. If it's not, it is false. And all the logic would be very similar. Change this to night. Whoops. And well, so now I believe this should be all we need. Let's see here. Is this gonna work? Okay, so not really. On the construction script, it does work, but I suppose that this only gets called during the construction phase if it's not already toggled before playtime, before runtime. This won't take place. So here's what we'll have to do. We'll copy this and we'll move it here. Now I'm not going to delete this variable because we definitely want to maintain the functionality in the construction script. It is quite useful. We have our location and 360. Okay, so what we're gonna do is actually we're gonna maintain both of those and go to a branch. So these both can route into here, and we can actually reference either of those. That's essentially a get. So there shouldn't be any conflicts routing it this way. And basically, if it's true, we want to use this location. I just want to double check. Yeah, we were using the true value here. And if it's false, I believe, if we go to the viewport, we can double check. Right now, the Z height is 360 approximately. And I believe it is set to 5. So if it's false, we just keep this at 360. Now, if we play this as soon as I compile and connect all my nodes, now we should get something happening. Cool. This is exactly what I wanted. Neato. Okay. So, I want to run to the shopping alley level real quick. Oh, hey Julio, how's it going? Hope you're having a good day. Right, so like I mentioned, or as I was saying earlier, I want to go to the shopping alley level and just verify these shops working on kind of a larger scale. If it's nighttime and we head to the junk shop, what happens? Looks like the shop is closed. Okay, quite cool. So this is also using a similar structure, I imagine. I'm actually kind of curious. Yep, it's using the exact same logic, which is quite cool. So before I, wrap this up here, or not wrap this up, but head off to the downtown level, let's just sort of get some comment boxes here, clean this up a little bit, and I'll do it like this. So grab these two items, drop these down here, and sort of just do the same. And I'll bring everything in, keep it nice and neat as much as possible. Grab these, and that should be adequate, I think. I'm going to keep this open. We're going to have to replicate this a little bit, and certain certain other shops, storefronts rather, have a bit more of a dynamic setup in terms of the contents. Some of them have bins and stuff that might have to get tucked away. But I'll hop over to the level and do that there. Just replay something here. I'm not sure if you guys can hear my music. Let me know if you can. Okay, so from here, where are we? Um, I want to keep this open and get rid of this. I'll build all my interactions later. I don't want to do that on this stream. I want to keep it focused on making sure that our shop environments are functional throughout the different times of day, and when they should and should not be. But let's just clean up the development room level a little bit. It's getting a little cluttered with all these stores. That looks better. So I'll save here. Hop over to the other room. Actually, real quick, let me see something here. So if I hop in here and play and I hit my home key, right, so if I hit my home key, I've set up a multi-purpose debug that is super useful, or sorry, a multi-purpose print string that is extremely useful when programming functionality for, well, I find it useful for programming attacks and special effects, things like that. Anything where you need to have your character's location and orientation in the world, right? So on the home key, I have it set for, actor rotation is displayed, our forward vector, and our actor location. All like extremely useful values to see. But what I would want, instead of having it be a one-click print string, I want it to play on a loop, where I can toggle it on and off. And that's something I want to do on the main menu. And if you guys are programming your own games and you're planning to be doing effects, you want to shoot projectiles, things like that. Basically, what I would define as complex complex interactions, really, because the whole closing and opening a shop isn't that fancy by comparison. But anyways, I set that up on the home key on my keyboard, and right now you can see, exactly the colors and stuff that I was talking about. We have actor rotation, forward vector, and the actor rotation. So if I make a bit of space here, what I want to do is call this on a flip flop. Actually, no, you definitely do want to flip flop. But what I'm going to do is create a function out of this. And I'm going to call this well, what should we call it? We'll collapse it to a function. Yeah, we'll call it location data. Kind of want a simple name here. And so right now we would call it, and it would be exactly as it would be. We could call this, if we set it up like this, it would basically be the exact same result we're getting before. If we go inside of here, we can see the function that we're getting, and it's this. And not very helpful. It's exactly what we have before. But what you can do instead is what's called a man, I actually can't remember. I haven't done this in a while, a few weeks actually. It's been out of development commission for a few weeks, as you may have noticed, just because of computer issues. We had a big deadline, and then I had some computer issues. So while things were getting repaired and put together, I was not developing. I was doing some project management work instead. Excuse me. Okay, so we want to call function, or not call function. We want to call it on a timer. So I'm just gonna look for timer. So if clear function by timer, we want to set timer by function name. It's a little weird way of phrasing, but basically it'll call a function, any function of ours. I mean, you can even do this on a different variable or a different blueprint if we had a reference to our main character. But what we want to call here is our location data. I'll add a description for this just so I don't forget. Characters, location, and orientation within the world. Cool. And we want this to be on a timer of basically 0.1, is what I would say. And we want to be looping. That's a little critical. And we want this called when we hit the home key, just like way before, but now it's calling it every 0.1 seconds. We're going to get a readout. Inside of the function, I want to change this to 0.1. So basically, we should be getting a constant update type deal out of this. And if we hit the home key again, because of the flip-flop flow control, we want to clear timer by function name. This way, rather than having on an event tick, or it's constantly being called every frame, we just call it every 0.1 seconds. And we just want to make sure we type it in correctly. And this should be a vastly superior readout for getting that information. I really should be saving before compiling in case something goes wrong. Sort of a bad habit. Okay, so hit the home key. We have a readout. We get a little bit of ghosting, but I don't really know how to avoid that. Perhaps there is a do once, and then you could. There's so many different ways you could flow control this. You could use a do once and a gate to sort of create a loop manually with custom events. But, I mean, you get the idea. We're able to move, look around, and we get our location and rotation forward vector updated when we need it and can toggle it on or off, which I think is really handy. These errors are cast to dynamic node. Oh, water point pickup. These only work for Maya. Vance came and picked them up. I wonder if that's what's causing the error, potentially. In any case, you can ignore those for the stream. Let's get back to what I want to focus on today with this work session. Let's head over to the other level. Well, not the apartment, but the downtown test level. Let's save our character classes. Definitely. The loading percentage is on my other monitor here. Okay. Here we are in the shopping alley. Let's see. Oh, I just noticed the comments. My bad, guys. Gamingle Rumbo, can you give me a stream key with your game? I cannot, because our game's not out. It does not exist. It is only on my computer, well, and our other developers' computers. So unfortunately, I can't give you a stream key or a Steam key because it's not on Steam. Not yet. Um, okay, so where is that shop of ours? Let's play here. So if I come over here, the lighting is super bizarre. Something happened when we converted from 4.16, um, and also that functionality isn't working, so I have to double check why. When I converted and placed to 4.16, I got this like massive. Um, I guess it's just maybe the way 4.16 handles lighting, because the sphere reflection is not. It's not happy. I'm just gonna delete it. Um, our water also looks funny. Oh, yeah, I fixed that. I need to update the materials afterwards, after the stream, from my old computer. Let me just make a quick note about this. Sorry, guys. I could update the water again manually, but then I kind of have to like reteach myself how I did it. And also, the material is like quite complex, and I don't want to spend a lot of time on stream waiting for it to compile. Um, in any case, let's move the player start a bit more over to where I want to be. Um, yeah, over here is cool, I think. So, cafe is here. If I switch to nighttime, the shop has not closed, which is a little incorrect there. Um, and if we open it up, we can see I'm going to drag this off to another monitor just because I want to debug against it and make sure this is firing. Let's grab it and bring this over here. So if I interesting. So well, it is firing as it's supposed to, like the logic works for all of our streetlights and everything, like you saw. But I noticed. Um, just want to verify a suspicion I have. Okay, I think I see what is happening here. I believe there's a I believe there is a conflict with the construction script. I'm just going to disconnect it for now. Um, doing so would probably result in this not working. However, interesting. It definitely was working in our other environment. Oh, that shouldn't make a difference. Okay. Definitely troublesome. You know, a good double check would be to let's check the junk shop. Verify if that actor is working correctly. So whatever, evening time should be able to. Oops. Sorry about that. Welcome to the junk shop. Right. So that works fine here. However, if it is evening time, so those all work correctly. It's actually bizarre. It's actually bizarre as to why this one does not work. I'm just going to. Inside of our construction script. Actually, let's connect that straight through. And that instruction is working here. Set relative location of this component. But why? Didn't mean to crouch. Okay, this is tripping me out a little bit. Need to figure out where the problem is. If we get back to our development level, let's see what's going on here. I'm going to save selected on this level. You have a team? Sorry, guys. Sorry, Rumbo. Just saw your comments now. Got a little sidetracked with work. Do you have a team? Yeah, we have a team. If yes, give me a link. A Steam link? We don't have a Steam link because our product isn't on the store. So, if I grab out this actor, throw this down here. Okay, so it works in this level. So, what's the deal? The code should be fine. That means. If I look at this, let's see here. Just looking at my street lamp actor on my other monitor, trying to see, looking at the code, and maybe I replicated it incorrectly at some point. Um, the only thing that's different here is that there were two branches. Is the day phase equal to nighttime? I'm going to work within the shop actor set to on. Maybe there's an issue with it. Perhaps. I don't know. Is shop closed? True or false? Let's align this up like so. Let's test that it still works in this level just so we have a control. Okay, so that's fine. Let's hop back to our city level. So sometimes Control O is open asset, but sometimes it's open level. I'm not sure as to why. Let's update this. Okay, here we are back. See, the street lights do turn on. Bothers me how bright it is at nighttime here. Moving to 4.16 really changed up the way the light is being handled. But more importantly, that gate should be shut. Let me see if I can optimize my screen space here. And maybe I'll do a little bit of play in. Play in viewport. So you can see the debug string down there. And basically, this just got passed to true, however. The instructions were not followed. It passed through here, it was equal to nighttime, but this didn't take for some reason. It's very bizarre. We could go to other levels and verify, but I don't think that would help much. Whoops. Jeez. There we go. Hmm. Yep, it is this value. We do want to be increasing the Z location of the shutter. It's probably that. There it is. That one setting. Yep, sweep. Of course. Of course. Yeah, if you guys don't know, basically because that mesh has collision now, it checks if that collision was going to hit anything, and it basically does not. It stops at that point. Well, that is that. I'm actually a little relieved. I thought maybe my logic was wrong, which would make me pretty sad because I was feeling pretty happy with regards to how like the day phases and all that stuff was set up. Anyhow, now what I want to do is set this logic up on other shops like our Apple Market and the fish market, like that kind of stuff. So let's just go to these actors and grab them. So here's Apple Market. Lovely. Looks familiar, right? All of them use the same logic, just because we wanted to have some simple dialogue that we could create on the spawned actor in level. So what we should do is actually get rid of things like number of dialogues. That's not needed. These excessive variables and also s underscore dialogue, that shouldn't be needed as well. Like find references. Just should be fine. So compile, and let's get to here. I'm gonna have to set aside some time for relighting this level for daytime and nighttime. We can probably maybe do that on tomorrow's stream. Okay, so that works fine. Definitely was overthinking things. We can probably just fire this in back to 1. Sort of like so, and our construction script is probably also fine. If we just come back here and double check, oh, strangely it's not. I broke it. Yeah, that's how I broke it. All right, beautiful. Although, why does this thing like fly forward? That's so awkward. Let's get the actual. While we have it checked out, let's correct this. This location is on the y-axis here. We want to apply this to beyond construct. And we definitely want this to be the return point as well. It's fine there too. Okay. Cool. So now, yeah, looking good. Morning again, shops open. Nice. Pretty cool. Okay. So from here, go back to our Apple market, or sorry, not our Apple market, our just rearranging my workspace to my monitors here. Want this in a larger view. Let's see. These are our future plans. So for the Apple market, we're basically going to do the same setup. In fact, I would go ahead and copy. I think we just copy and paste the code right in for the most part. The parent does have the reference, and it is shared. So cast into the game mode variable should be fine. If we grab this and drag out from here, that should validate those. And, well, the issue potentially is, actually, this isn't too bad. Shop uses a similar type of structure. Yeah, Apple Market's there. Beautiful. Beautiful. Shops are closed. Check. We don't want to actually check there. But that's really funny. Anyways. I guess we should do this one next. Actually, quite a quick setup of the implementation. Man, that sweep really threw me for a loop. But again, really relieved that it's not a logic issue with our world and how we're like communicating data. Okay, so let's move ourselves over here to the fish market. Open this up. I guess we can check it out. We know we're gonna need to. And I'll move this guy over. What I will do is delete. What is enable signifier? Oh, okay. I get it. So this one will actually be a little bit more complex, just because there are two sides, two shutters, two sets of instructions that'll have to get fired off. Let's delete these. And again, I will paste these in, just like so, in the basic data. Should just plug and play in. Now we have shutter here, but we have no shutter inside of, we do, but we have shutter and we have static mesh one. Thankfully, they both sort of, one's attached to the other, so we should only have to move shutter actually. So maybe I can thank my past self for, whoops, did not mean to hit Q. Or I either hit Q or there was an error that caused it to crash our preview here. Cool. So cool. Right. Different phases, and it closes at nighttime. Pretty handy. Yeah, this lady is here. Let's see here. The next shop would be the carrot shop. Yeah, super important store, you know, gotta buy your vegetables. I mean, do both these at the same time. So check out this. Carrots. What else do we need here? Watermelon and the banana stand. Okay, so cabbages, watermelons. The banana stand is there, and we also want a... Where is it? There it is. Okay. Check these out. Okay, can we open all of these? Edit shared defaults? Don't want to do that. Let's open them individually. And the barber shop. Not the barber shop, sorry. The banana stand. Okay. I was going to grab all of these guys over. I should still have that bit of code saved in memory. Since it's a one-shot copy and paste, it's actually pretty easy. So, let's delete these. And move these into place ahead of time. So I'll paste in our code from the parent. I mean, you can align this a little better. That makes me happy. Cool. So we just connect this in through here, and one thing I have to double check is the location of this in the viewport. We're using the 12.6 negative, so that's in keeping with everything else, which is cool. It's just those corner shops I was a little worried about becoming more complex, or shops that have an excessive amount of bins and stuff outside of the gate, which I do not believe these other shops use. We close this. The parent we can close probably. Let's dock all of these in here just so I have one window. All these shops are pretty good. This one might clip. We might have to adjust something there, but not a big deal. Okay, so from this point, where's our player controller? Or our player start, excuse me. Let's grab it and bring it. Come on. Bring it down to this end. Cool. Okay. Inside of here, I guess we can just delete everything except for this, and, well, we don't want to delete this either. It's important. It's important for our future interactions for this shop. Bring those into place. Set this up. Nice and neat. Love being able to copy and paste code around. Super useful. Now this shop should be using the same positioning, and it does. So that's, we can count that one as done. We'll do the carrots next, just because it's simpler probably. Uses that same -12 position. So if I were to go back in time, I would have a parent just for these shops. But because all the actors are already created, we're working with the source control. I don't want to delete them and remake them with a shared parent. So That's something I learned after I built all the actors. But anyways, that is what I would advise you guys to do if you were to do the if you guys had a similar development requirement for your own games. Definitely make use of parents and the shared logic. Okay, so here we have, yeah, we already verified that that would work. In the cabbage store, let's set this one up. Deselect those, delete everything else. Beautiful. Bring these into position. Whoops, did not want to paste it there. Here we go. Let's connect this up in the viewport. Beautiful. This should work. It should all work just fine. I'm going to save all with Control-Shift-F. And from here, yeah, the lighting is really blown out in 4.16, at least maybe at least in the setup that we had implemented. So probably we'll do that for tomorrow's stream. Spend some time lighting this level a little bit more. So these shops are closed. No clipping. We do have a little bit of interaction, which we probably want to disable, but in terms of having the actors be dynamic with regards to its state and the time of day, yeah, it's like really washed out. So we could even like lock ourselves in. Now we're trapped. Okay, having way too much fun. All right, so let me just mark that down as complete. Just here's my checklist here of things I want to cover on this development stream. Okay, so the next thing I wanted to set up was probably just a little bit of exploratory research regarding the state of our shop's inventory. If you notice, we have these stores which you can go to, right? And they have, well, this one doesn't, but things like the junk shop, they have a set inventory of various items. Sorry, I hit Q. Q right now is a debug I'm using for save and exit, a quick save and exit for our saving system. When I hit it, which is actually a poor choice for saving, because it's so close to W. But it just exits the game when I hit Q. Anyways, what I want to do is verify that inventory to see if it can be set up using a class reference instead, is what my notes say, so I'll have to check that out. Depending how that goes, if it leads to work or if it doesn't, or if we finish it, we'll take a look at setting up the NPC version of Vance and Maya. As you can see here, we have our character folder, our main characters, and we have NPCs, right? But what we should have is a, well, as you can see here, we have an NPC for Maya, right? And what we would want to do is, let me just bring this over to my player start. Certain systems need to be built in, like right now it's sort of just kind of generic, right? But what we'd want to do is have a proper formalized plan, which is usually what I do whenever I set up a complex actor. I just do some logic planning with regards to how things would be structured, what requirements are needed of an actor, things like that, just so the work process is more streamlined. So I'll probably get into that if the shop, depending on the shop actors, the shop inventory research goes. Just noticing, we, like I mentioned, set up on a new computer, recover the project, but some files are missing. One of which is the water material, which you saw earlier. There is also an icon missing in the shop, which I noticed. Let's see here. If we have in our motion graphics, we have icons and we have inventory icons. Yeah, we're missing an escape tether. Just making note of all of these things to add back in once I have to recover from my old computer. Just making notes so I don't forget. After the stream, I'll do those. And the last one was Maya's avatar. Well, her hunting clothes avatar. Right, so if we go to our avatars folder, it's nowhere to be seen. So we definitely want those to be updated as well. But let's head over to the junk shop. That's where we'll be working. And we should have brought this with us. And we definitely want to open up this actor. So several of these have to get checked in. You know what, I'll check them in after the stream. Sometimes it takes a little bit of time, and it would sort of bog up the flow and experience for all of you. So on this actor, on start interaction or on event begin play, we get the status, but on start interaction, if the shop is accessible, we hop into the widgets, which is where these things are handled. So the shop widget, we have our buy menu. Interesting. Okay, so let's go to the buy menu here, as you saw. And in the graph, we can see on construct, we set up the title, text, and info, which is happening right here. We get data from the game instance, and on the game instance is where we get our shop inventory. So, game instance. Let's go to our general folder and grab our game instance. Taking a look at it, we have our variables, and the two shop inventories exist right now. Our junk shop and the gadgets inventory. So, like, the game instance is a great place to store things that you need to keep track of across different levels. Now, we don't necessarily need to have every shop be handled on the game instance, but for certain shops where you have cases where things are out of stock, where you want to, in the junk shop's case, that's where Maya will be purchasing her canteens from throughout the game, which sort of as she gets more canteens, in essence, she gets more powerful, or she gets more ammunition, so to speak. So that needs to be we need to keep track of that inventory. The gadget shop, probably not. That could be probably handled on the actor itself, and we just check where the character is in the story, where the player is in the story, if we're going to gate whether or not they have certain items, and if it's not, whether or not and if it's based on side quest completion or something like that, we can also check for that. That's fine. But in any case, right now the junk shop inventory is being handled by a shop inventory array, a unique variable type. And as you can see, it's basically composed of um, our inventory struct. But my notes say, and I wrote these, maybe I should have been more descriptive. I'm trying to determine, verify if we can use a class reference instead. With regards to why, I'm not sure. I mean, the junk shop inventory, I mean, this inventory works. We know it. We've bought from it. We've sold to it. However, we're not using a lot of the data here. Things like what you see is what we're using. Our icon gets used, the name. Category doesn't get used either. Character specific, kind of, gets used. Stacks don't get used, and the purchase value does get used though. The classes, that absolutely gets used. That is more important. That's actually what we are moving around and tracking in the inventory for the player, in the item stash, and not so much in the shops though. We're kind of faking it. Which is interesting. So I believe we can improve this a little bit, clean it up to make it a little bit more easier to work with. Oh, a little bit easier. So if we go to our blueprints folder and go into our structures folder, we have shop inventory. And inside of shop inventory, we have our item details, and we have our a boolean is out of stock, which is kind of a structure within a structure, which is why a lot of those are not being used. What I'm going to do instead is actually customize the structure to make it effective, make it more optimized, clean it up a little bit. It will cause the shop to break, probably the gadgets shop as well, just because it's going to try and. There are probably some blueprints inside of the widget. Yes, for instance, where we grab our item details and set them here. We would have to instead of this type of logic, you'd have to make this. Check out selected, sure. Right, so we have here the S item data for the shop inventory button. Right now, we're just grabbing the item details and throwing those in, which can work relatively easily. But if we have a structure here that does exist, it's already broken, we can just pass these through. All of these that would matter, right? The alphanumeric value, a lot of these just get set to 0 because on the game instance here, there's no data for them. Anyways, what I want to do here is grab shop inventory and grab our item data. And, whoops, just want to recreate what we need. If you can follow my intentions here. The item data class is actually perfect, I think. But this one is... Oh, you know what? I now recall, rather, what my intentions were with my note to check if it'll work for the item class. So let's check this out. What the item class, the intention is, can we just use the item class to pull all of these datas that already are set on the actor? Because then we might not even need to have S item data. Everything is already set. Because basically we're creating a new array, having to populate it each time for the store and make it match consistently, which is not ideal. You're better off to use the class of the item that already exists. Yeah, we'll check these out. That is totally fine. Kind of have to check it out. I mean, we're working with it. And that's the last of my coffee. Oh, it's gross and cold. Okay. So from the item class, well, the type we want that to be is item class. Item EP? Wait, no. Item master. And that's what I want. We want to see if we can define a specific class. Because if that's the case, we can probably just delete item details. But for now, let's just save. And let's dock this back in here. Item data, I'll close it for now. I don't think we'll be editing it. Whoops. Let's just compile that rather. Now, where was I? Inside. Let's close all these shops. We're done editing them. It's cluttering up my tabs here. Junk shop by game instance. Okay, so on our game instance we have our shop, and now we have well, we need to compile, and we're gonna break our inventory, like I said, which is not ideal, but also yeah, everything is just default now. I mean, the array length is maintained, but actually it's not. But in any case, if we have a class, the idea is we have the item class we want to have in the store's inventory, and we would also have the is out of stock, just those two items in the structure. So for instance, this is the water canteen. This is what we want. Instead of populating that data through this item structure, we would instead grab the asset for the water canteen, and we would compile and save. And then from here, in our buy menu, we have our shop inventory structure and that class. And from here, we want to be able to get details or something to that effect, so we can populate this. Get class defaults, maybe. And wouldn't you know, we can. It matches. I mean, granted, it doesn't look like it matches, but it's just because these drop downs are all expanded. But it does work beautifully. This will work 1,000 times better. So when we go to the shop now, we should have the eCanteen there, perfectly displayed with all of the data. This is like 1,000% better, especially from my game design and like structuring perspective. We have the eCanteen, and everything else is sort of broken, and that's because in our shop inventory on the game instance, all these are broken. They don't have an item class defining what they're supposed to be. If they did, well, we can kind of do that if we have classes, right? So this is just awesome. I just need to check that off as completed. So that's super cool. Okay, I'm gonna take a quick break to use the washroom, and for the last half hour, we can probably do some. We could do some setup, but we could also do. You know what? I think planning out NPC design stuff is probably going to make for a boring stream. So I'll continue fleshing out the shop, making it more fully functional, kind of restoring it to what it was, but with the more optimized setup. That sounds good. Select some music for myself. Hopefully, I mean, it sounds bad, but I like to listen to, Final Fantasy, like extended OSTs while I work, or, any RPG really, extended OSTs. But YouTube streaming does not like that. So hopefully, you guys don't hear the music in this case. All right, I'll be right back. Alrighty. Let's see here. So we have our item class. I believe we can probably just delete this because we're pulling the item data exactly from the class that we're looking to sell. So let's just close this and actually reorder this. That's more important. This is just so awesome. Okay. I mean, this might get a bit more fine-tuned depending on the case of the shop. We might discover. I feel as though we might discover going through the development process that certain shops might need to have a quantity of items that maybe renew every day. Let's say. If that's the case, we might have to do some trickery or some adjustments to the shop inventory structure. But for the time being, this is definitely a huge improvement. Okay, so from the game instance, we have our junk shop, and from here, yeah. So item class 1 is the water canteen. Basically, I have it all structured out. The inventory items are here. All of these different BP underscores, basically. From them, sort of able to, well, excuse me. See if I can recall what was supposed to be here. I think the escape tether was here, um, as well as, let's see. I should probably wrote down what those are supposed to be before I deleted them. I can go back to my Google Drive spreadsheet, but for the sake of the stream and sharing how the setup works, I don't think that's necessary. For the time being, I'll just delete that extra one. Oh, whoops, through here. So the escape tether will have water canteen. This one's supposed to be the energy canteen. And here, let's see, I think it was an alloy. I feel as though it was. Anyhow, just from compiling and setting up the data here, we have everything populating as it sort of should. This is out of stock, so obviously it's gray. These two, well, this is also gray because, oh, I just noticed something. If I go backwards, sorry, for anyone who's been watching other episodes, or other streams rather, we set up a banking system where we could have a cache of funds deposited in a bank, but also use that money to purchase items on the fly. Not on the fly, on your person, I guess, like in shops. And this menu is not reflective of that setup that we made. So that is something I need to add to my notes. I have to recover that file from my other computer as well. Let's see here. Junk shop. Let's make a note. Junk shop for bank purchase. It's weird. Anyways, yeah, eCanteen doesn't work. It's out of stock, and escape tether is missing its icon. Just to verify that in the game instance on the inventory, let's make sure. Let's see if that's in stock and see what happens. Perfect. It works. Icons there. It's 0 malite. It doesn't cost anything. I haven't used that. That is because, like I mentioned, the old setup, we had to basically artificially create an item structure that was not the actual item structure on the class. Now things are, and it's so much better. And the reason for that is we don't have to have things matching and referencing. We can go to the actual eCanteen class and sort of, hop in here and say, hey, this cost should actually be this value, whatever maybe. What I want to do here is actually, let's mark this for add, first of all. And on the eCanteen, let's check out this one and the water canteen as well. Check those two out, and I'll also open up in my directories here. Let's see, we have GUI, icons, inventory, and all my icons that I've made are going to load. Wait, oh, this is in my external. Yeah, we don't want that. Here we go. I was wondering why it was taking long to load. And I actually heard the hard drive spinning, so it tipped me off. Anyways, yeah, we have some icons here. And if we go to our details view, and I like date modified, I don't like date. The date doesn't really help me. I never use my computer to like reminisce, oh, this picture, this photograph of mine, when was this taken? And I don't look back fondly like that. I just use my computer for texture files. Okay, so we have the eCanteen, and we have a graphic for the escape tether right there, which is perfect. Okay, now that these are checked out, going to the eCanteen, water canteen, and the escape tether. On the eCanteen, we have the default description, alphanumeric value, which is for our sort system, item type, character specific, and the sell and purchase value. You're not going to be able to sell the eCanteen, but we'll make it something like excuse me. I'll make it 100 because I think that's the default wallet right now. And on the water canteen, we have. Let's put it at 2,000. Let's make it expensive. And the escape tether. What do we got? 500. That's cool. Sell value 50. That's fine. Keep that at 0 as well. Usable. Nope. This is usable. Like all of this data absolutely needs to be stored, and pulling it from that class of what you want to sell is, I cannot stress enough how much more correct that is than the previous setup. Anyways, we need a texture for here. I'm just going to hop to that location, and you can see we don't have our escape tether icon. So what I'm going to do is just re-import that. I mean, I have the graphic, no point importing another U asset. And there's the icon for the escape tether and the updated energy canteen. So I will save both of these. Well, this one has to be checked out and then saved. This is set for user interface, right? Cool. And hop back here. Let's make sure that default is set for user interface. And I'll close it. Kind of a weird picture, but I think it communicates correctly. And we'll check in both of those new inventory icons. Okay. So here we are. One thing I should do on the parent actor, well, not on the parent, but on the junk shop, since I have it open here, let's hide this in editor. So many settings. Good lord. Transform visibility. Where is it? Guess you can't. Oh, here, rendering. Yeah, I want to make it not visible because it's kind of just adds a lot of noise. Oh, I guess inside of the editor you can't really avoid it. It's what it is. I thought I could hide that potentially, but I guess not. Oh no, that's the exit location. I'm a goof. Let's go here and click rendering. I want rendering features. Yeah, you know what it looks exactly. It looks like for cameras you need to keep it visible. There's probably a reason, an important reason. So I'll just leave it. Anyways, this escape tether is, oh gosh. Save that. And the eCanteen, compile and save that. So from here we should be. yeah, awesome. See, we can actually afford this one, so it's white. The rest you can't buy. This is awesome. All the description text is showing up as it's supposed to. If there's one thing to take away from this game dev stream, it is to use the item class for managing your shop inventories. Huge. So huge. Okay. That's pretty much it, like, to be honest. We also have a shop inventory here for the Gadgets and Gadgets store. Right now it's empty, but, you know, if we had to have something, we could easily just say, oh, if we want this shop to sell, for lack of a better item to select, a schematic for a polymer, right? It would just be that easy. Then we could run over here, and there it is. However, the reason why that shows up that way is not the... Oh, excuse me. The item schematics for the polymer is actually... It probably has the data. The reason why it doesn't show up in that widget is because it's not using this. There's a broken reference and it wants to find what was previously connected, the item structure. It's pretty simple to fix, but if I'm going to be honest, I'm not too keen on create to buy menu. Not too keen on the whole handling this shop. This shop's inventory, right, to be handled on the game instance. Rather, I think we should have a local array, a local variable for this shop, probably handled from the actor, not the widget. I don't think it would matter either way, but the widget has a lot going on, so probably better to have it here, and then pass that through. Yeah, why is there a day counter for this shop? I'm just gonna delete that. But anyways, for the sake of showcasing this shop system, once you have the shops that are set up this way, all you have to do is populate your classes, and then you have your shops with their data showing up, right? So you have our, the shop, we set one item, and it's pulling all the data it should, which is awesome. Okay. Anywho, I have a little bit of time left. I'm wondering what I should do. I could begin cleanup of this. You're probably wondering what this hole is in the wall. It's for our vending machine actor, which is using a very old version, to the point where it's now invalid and I had to remove it. Just out of curiosity, I want to check if... okay, that's cool. Yeah, I just want to check if level design stuff over there. Here we have... Yeah, I'll begin resetting up our vending machine. And I'll leave the junk shop, or the gadget shop inventory as is, sort of, for now. Like I mentioned, only very specialty shops would really need to be tracked on the game instance. Okay, let's close these actors and maybe I should be a little responsible and update these. Let's update it to shop inventory. Okay, submitted revision 20. Cool. Where else were we working? We were working with textures, we already did. Yeah, let's check in our character classes. Whoops. I can open up Photoshop, I guess, because I do want to begin planning the main character NPCs. But that is something I'll probably end up doing off stream. My main here and super weird. Super weird. I thought I had a blueprint space PDF somewhere. Oh, it's on my desktop. I'm a goof. Okay, anyways. Let's check in advance. And after that, for camera, look at. And I'll check in her as well. Once I get to the actors, I'll stop because I do want to access the vending machine, and I may need to get access to the parents. Okay, so from here we have our actors. And as you can see, we have a whole bunch of actors in the city. And many of them are just houses and shops. But here we have something called vending machine underscore soft drink. And if I open it, it should be broken. Yeah, it's errors off the wazoo. We're not even doing things this way anymore. So I'm going to check it out because they're going to delete this. Or that's the plan anyways. But we're going to recreate it and make it better because we have the technology. Kind of like how we have our banking machine, right? I mean, this is obviously a proxy mesh with no materials, but yeah, that's the idea for these sockets. You know, you can put in a vending machine, and it's like, oh, that's a cool little enclosure. How neat. But we want to build one for our bank machine as well. And the parent class we want is a T underscore one. Yeah, tier one, like a conversational actor is how I would describe it. So I'll grab our tier one and create a child. I'll look at actor underscore vending machine underscore soda. Something to that effect. We'll grab it and throw it into our Havenlock City. Move here. And it'll organize itself within the source control as well. Let's see here. So, whoops, wrong folder. Wrong folder again. There we go. Okay, thought I lost it for a second. Here it is. Not very pretty. So just as reference, because the mailbox has a very similar functionality, let's move ourselves over a little bit. It's fine. Yeah, so you can see the mailbox, while it's not a person, it's still a conversational avatar. It has some logic and provides dialogue. Vending machine's the same way. That's what, at least in the old one, all of this crap is. It's kind of messy, not the best way to handle dialogue. And what I have, view system I'm working with now isn't probably the best either, but it's far superior and cleaner. But anyways, the first thing we want to do is probably place this new vending machine actor into the world. And one thing I do want to do here, or the first thing I want to do rather, is change the mesh. Let's change it, instead of a shape cube, let's change it to a, well, our actor, our vending machine static mesh. And here it is with the wrong material, so we'll just clear it. So use the default, and there it is. All stretched and warped. Let's change it to a 1 all around, so it's to scale. And here we're getting something. Let's just change this over to the front. And if we I'll move my mailbox out for reference. But in the event graph here, yeah, it's actually fine. By default, it'll be, well, it'll be functional technically. Let's move the interaction box. Well, this is more like the attention box. It's sort of what your character has to sort of occlude to interact with it. I can just sort of just scale it up. It's just a volume. Sort of ballpark it like this. Right. So that way you can come to your vending machine, and then you can hit interact and check it out. Right now, by default, the parent is set, the parent is set up so that as soon as you interact, it ends the interaction. That we don't get locked in to nothing happening. But all we have to do here is, if I look at my, shouldn't need any of this, to be honest. All we need is a start interaction, and we want to overwrite, not overwrite, we want to override a function on the parent called interaction. And from here, we can also create one for ending the interaction as well. Something like end interaction. That's what I'm talking about. Perfect. So this is a good example of the useful qualities of parent classes. And we have a function that we want to call dialog box destruct. It's just sort of like a measure. On the parent class itself, let's take a look at what that is running. Dialog box destruct. Yeah, it just destroys our dialog box, which is cool. Animates it out nicely. things like that. So quite a hefty dialog tree here. But I guess as a quick solve for this, let's paste in this data. Basically, we have a variable in the parent, integer called a page that is set to 0 by default. And you can have multiple pages of dialog, which is basically what this does. So we need to grab our dialog reference execute. Whoops, not what I wanted. It's called a function for that. And what I want to do is break this. Oh, sorry, not links. We want to expand, not break. Yep, so here is the dialog. This is sort of what was visible on the old actor. Not quite ideal or intuitive to work with. Rather, what I have decided to do is to collapse it to a macro and just call it something like dialog underscore exe. And from here we can create our required inputs. From here, obviously we want a execution pin. And then we would have the, the dialog message that we would use, the string, as well as, if this is the last dialog, because that's important to we have to flag that. It's just the way I've structured it. Dialog last. And in some cases, we want to define whether the dialog page we're seeing is a question. So we can launch questions. For something like the mailbox, or something like if a character's reading a book and it's just pages of dialogue, not really an issue. But for this case, we do have questions. We do questions for like, do you want to spend your money here? It's a vending machine. Do you want to buy a soda? That sort of deal. So for that case, we need these questions. So you can kind of see the flexibility that this offers. So we can have things like, what a cool vending machine. If I could type it. Looks like it's out of stock. And this would be the last dialog, so we know it would end and pass right into the end interaction, which would be calling this. From here, we should just be able to save and play. Looks like it's out of stock. So, works perfectly, right? Works like a dream. Anyways, my music ended, which tells me that the stream is pretty much over. I'm actually starving. I need to get some lunch going on. But anyways, guys, thanks for watching. Like I mentioned, tomorrow we will be... Oh, you know what? I can do something here. I can make use of our fancy OBS technology. All right. So, like I mentioned during the stream, tomorrow I'll probably work on some lighting in the downtown level, figure out what's going on there in 4.16. Things just look a little too like bleached, I want to say, or washed out or whited out or something. So take a look at what's happening there with making things look back to how they used to, or improving them in general. And again, thanks for watching. We appreciate all the likes and subscribes. It means so much to us. It's so encouraging to see the comments you guys are leaving and the feedback you guys provide. Anyways, thanks for watching, and hopefully I'll see you tomorrow. Later.